Quinn, Rachel, Woody, heel. Dang puppies. Go on. All right, guys. Just got done with my little morning coffee run with the dogs and wanted to stop in here real quick and let you guys know that times are changing. And if you have been with me since the beginning, you know I've been doing this show for 5-6 years. I think this month will be 6 years from now. It's been primarily audio only. In the past year, I've kind of focused more on the video podcast and dabbled in that and really kind of learning what I liked and didn't like about video. And it's a pain, to be perfectly honest. I would love to go back to the days of audio only format. It was easier, cheaper, quicker. It was just simpler overall. But the fact of the matter is, it's 2025. And for me to continue doing content and justify the time spent and the cost of equipment, I have to focus on where the content payoff is. And ultimately that is in the form of video and long form content, which is, you know, what I've enjoyed about the podcast. So I enjoy the longer conversations, the way that we can dig deeper, but also I feel like in our space, we've kind of talked about it all, whether it's been me or any other podcasters. It's just a lot of the same people, a lot of the same conversations, just kind of repeating itself, recycling year after year. And I think it's time to start trying to show this stuff in a new format, a new light. You know, if we can't come up with new information and new guests and new experts and whatever, we can at least figure out new ways of presenting this. And I think that's where I'm coming at now. And what you're going to see today or here today is the first of a 3-part series with Nate Zarnota of Iron Oak Dog Company, going over his entire steadiness program. And this was shot intentionally for a video format piece of content. I am releasing this as audio only through the podcast platforms, Apple, Podbean, Stitcher, you know, take your poison pill. But even Spotify has switched over to their primary goal is to grow video. This is the world we live in. This is the algorithms that we play with. I have to play the game in order to justify the time and keep the show viable. And so in this episode, what you're going to hear is Nate breaking down his steadiness program. In part 1, it's a lot of the prerequisites and essentially the foundation of pointing that we need to get and achieve prior to going into advanced steadiness. There's a ton of information in here that's not even just relegated to steadiness, but just dog training as a whole that I hear from new dog trainers all the time of pigeons. How do I use pigeons? How do I put them in launchers? How do I place launchers? How do I use launchers? All that's covered in here. You're going to see the good. You're going to see the bad. There's ugly in here just as well as pretty. It's real dog training. But I also had to spend a lot of time in packaging it to make it consumable, to try and make dog training, let's face it, it can become monotonous, especially when all you're doing is staring at the butthole of a dog for 2 hours on most people's cameras or on a tripod from 50 yards away, and you don't even get to see the face. You don't get to see the action up close and personal. And so there's a lot left open to interpretation. And ultimately, I think this is what I have come to appreciate about the video side of it. Because again, I would love to go back to audio only, simpler times, but video does allow me to show things that words can't capture. You know, the old saying, you know, a picture is worth 1,000 words. How much is a video worth? And there's a lot of truth to that. I'm trying to figure out how to use video to underscore and emphasize and highlight a lot of the points that we make in the actual podcast. But I also want to capture and retain what I appreciate about long form content through the lens of video. Doesn't exactly lend itself towards an editing friendly process, but that's okay you listeners sticking with me for the past number of months as I kind of figure out and ultimately learn how to do this kind of workload or skill set by you guys consuming these older episodes that I've built up over the years, the back catalog, the episodes that, you know, let's face it, I get a lot of requests for a lot of topics or people or guests that I've already had on. And instead of me going to just run it back with the same guests and the same topics, I can re-release those episodes, and it frees me up and gives me enough time to go out and try and capture new information and package it in a way that it's actually relevant. Because let's face it, guys, the upland community and gun dog community as a whole, it's not exactly mainstream. We're not nearly as big as I think a lot of people assume we are. We're definitely not as young as what a lot of people think we are. We're dealing with a lot of old timers and a lot of people that they're just now learning what a podcast is, and the space is already moving on from that. And so the rest of the world has already moved on to where video podcast is the game. It's the name of the game, and everything that creators do is through that lens, and audio only comes secondary. It's only in our space, for good and bad, better or worse. Our community is older. They're more traditional. They're more aversive to change and updating. And so this is what I want to try and explain, the type of content that you're going to be listening to if you're on Apple or Stitcher or any of these older podcast platforms. They don't have a video generator on it. You have Spotify and you have YouTube. Those are your two main ones, and they both cycle. The algorithms work based off of video. I know it seems crazy to say, just a few short years ago, we were just learning what podcasts are. Now it's already on to the next bigger, better things. And I thought video podcasts were a joke when they first came out. Who wants to sit there and watch people talk? Then I recognize what people do is they'll leave it on. They're listening to it as always, earbuds, out in the back speaker or whatever. But then when something comes up that they're interested in, then they'll look at the screen and then they'll consume it. Well, I wanted to take that, and that's ultimately what I tried doing all last year. And to varying results, I had some really successful episodes and some really successful topics and conversations, and I learned a lot. One of my most successful from a viewership standpoint, as well as feedback, as well as testimonials almost of the success that it brought them, was the Unforced Force Fetch series with Chris Armanini, to where we actually not only talked about the training or the philosophy, but showed it. I had the fewest amount of questions from people because we're showing what we're talking about. It was really clear, but also it gave listeners the tools to actually go attempt what they're learning, and it gave them a reference back. I can't tell you how many listeners said that they went back to listen to that individual step for their force fetch program. And it got me thinking is, why are we relegated to chairs and to a hardline headset microphone to a recorder inside? What we like to do is out here. It's with the dogs. It's out in nature. It's out doing the stuff. I mean, I just got done doing my little morning coffee run with the dogs. This is where I want to be. I don't want to be stuck up inside talking to a camera as if I actually want to be an influencer. I had no desire to be an influencer when we started doing this years ago. I just kind of fell into it because I love the dogs and I loved capturing the information and chasing down the guests and information that was going to allow me to train the dog that I wanted to train. And by me doing that, I brought you guys along with me. So now it only makes sense in my head that I do that with video, right? The most important conversations, the most valuable conversations and information that I've accrued throughout the years has been before and after the episodes. You know, I gain a lot of information and we train, and then we will talk about it. And then afterwards, we just continue talking. And so much of the valuable information that I've learned hasn't even been on the podcast. And then sometimes, because I think, you know, who I'm with, I will think that something was presented or talked about on a podcast, and it really wasn't. It was offline. And so I'm working under the assumption that you guys have the same information that I have, and it was never even mentioned in the podcast. So I know I'm kind of rambling here, but I wanted to come up with a way or format, and this is kind of the first attempt at this. So keep that in mind first, that I already see rooms for improvement. I wanted to bring you guys on the experience, the value of the before, during, and after, instead of Nate coming down here and we training dogs and me taking notes or mental note and just kind of, let's revisit that when we sit down and recap this whole weekend. Let's show the weekend. And what came out of it was essentially his entire steadiness program. I cannot think of another free, especially, resource that covers steadiness as thoroughly as what we're about to cover over these next 3 parts. And it's really interesting. Nate has a very unique style to where he lives in the traditional style of training, but adds and folds in elements of the modern approach, the modern balanced approach. So like in part 2, you're going to watch him do the woe post while paying with food. And I guarantee you, I'm going to hear from a number of boomers pissed off that he's bastardizing the woe post when, in all honesty, nothing could be further from the truth. He is taking knowledge and information that our predecessors built and brought to us for us to then take to the next level. And that's ultimately what I'm getting at, is things have to evolve. Things have to improve. If not, at best, you're stale. Right? You're just the same. And I personally do not wake up every single day and invest my time and energy into things that I don't think that there's room for growth. Other people might. That's your prerogative. I don't. And so whether it's podcasting, whether it's dog training, whether it's any other form, any other thing going on in your life, what are we improving? What are we trying to get better at? Those are the people that fire me up and inspire me. Nate is one of those people, to where he's always thinking, he's brainstorming, he's got a new thought process. I have yet to present a scenario or question or a what if that he doesn't have not only a justification or reasoning for it, but a well thought out reason for it. That's what I think that this space needs. I think a lot of people in our space misconstrue our efforts of bringing new information out. We're not after the whole, like, this is brand new, you got to do it this way. This is better than your way. This is better than the old way. We're just trying to improve, guys. And this is what life is all about. If we literally took everything at face value and out of respect of yesteryear, out of respect of our predecessors, we didn't try and improve it, we wouldn't get better. We wouldn't figure out new tools, new processes, new theories, new approaches, new gear. I think I want to challenge everybody listening to this in a number of ways. First off, if you're on Apple or any of these audio only podcasts, I would encourage you to at least go to Spotify, if not YouTube, hit subscribe, and then you have the video if you so choose to look in on it while listening to the episode. Especially part 2. I'm still cleaning it up, but it's not as just seamless all the way through for an audio experience because of the woe post. There's a lot of quiet back and forth training dogs. And so making this palatable for you guys is challenging. And so I would just like you to understand that listen to this however you want to listen to it. I appreciate the view and just staying with us, but understand that there might be a better way to consume this if you're stuck on the audio only. And this is just kind of a gentle nudge in general because times have changed. And so with that being said, instead of me circling back and repeating myself again, probably, I'm going to wrap this up. Part 1 that you're about to check out is the prerequisites, pointing establishment, the basics, the foundations of Steadiness 101. Step 2 is the groundwork. It's woe training. It's training all of the individual segments that we're then going to go implement and put into the field. We're going to effectuate what we learned in part 2 into part 3, to where we do advanced field work and introduction to backing. It takes you all the way from step 1 all the way through the finish, and it's just a video podcast. You can't find that anywhere else, guys. Support the show. If you like this content, if you want to see where this type of content goes, I have numerous ideas on how to improve off of this in the future. Hit like, hit subscribe, leave a comment, share, just engage in the conversation. I don't want to hear a bunch of resume stuff. I don't want to hear a bunch of, you know, well, we haven't done this in 70 years. How he's doing this is just wrong. Leave whatever comment you want, but I want the community to actually start engaging and recognizing where we're all coming from. And at the end of the day, we all have a million different reasons of what brings us to this space, this gun dog space. You know, everybody has their preferences. The one overlapping common denominator is the dog. And I'm always coming at this of how can I train my dog better? And whether you agree with this way of training or not, I guarantee you there's some valuable information that you can pluck from this. Even if you don't like it as a whole, take what you do like and ignore the rest, and then go apply it to your own program. That's what I like about dog training. Is my buddy Grayson has really kind of shown me the light on this, as he's always described dog training as his creative outlet, his creative expression. And the more I learn about dog training, I find that to be true. It may sound a little quirky, but when you start seeing the people that have the check cord or the leash in hands, they do things their own way, steeped in the principles and foundations, but they do things their own way. And they put their own spin on it. They don't just follow a cookie cutter recipe, but it's all steeped in the principles. And that's what this episode, part 1, is about. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks again for all of the years of support. Hope you enjoyed this new version, maybe new direction of the show, but time will tell. Again, thanks guys. We'll see you next time. Good dogs.